I am joined tonight by Adam of Topline Baits. Thank you, Adam, so much for taking the time to hang out with me and talk baits. We got a lot to break down and discuss, and just really excited to have you on. And honestly, just excited to touch base with you, chat muskies,
Mhm.
and figure out where life is for you right now. So thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Happy New Year's, by the way. I
Happy
know
New
we've been
Year's.
talking back and forth with messages and stuff, but it's good to finally
Yeah,
connect on the live. I know we talked about it for a bit, but
yeah,
it
no doubt
worked out.
about it. Yeah, me, you, Duke, and Brady, we're having the same issues where
Yeah.
my kids' bedtime and trying to get them settled usually runs a little later than it needs to, and it's tough to sort it out, especially when you guys are an hour ahead. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not always because I think the three of you are all an hour ahead of me, so that's not always the easiest thing
Yeah.
to just yeah, dive into because if it's whatever nine like 8:30, 9 o'clock when I get the kids to bed here, that means it's 9:30, 10:30 for you.
Mm.
So that's like that's not
I
as
mean,
much fun to
yeah.
stay up and do that, especially when you're trying to paint and do all the things like Brady, and that cuts into your time too. So
I was gonna say that's usually like the work hours when it comes time for painting
yeah,
or building baits is generally from that. I know we get our kids down around 7. Well, we start at 7:30, but usually around 8:30 by the time it's said and done.
yep,
By the
I
time I get
know.
down here, maybe 9 o'clock, and then some mornings it's 2:30 in the morning, and you get back upstairs, but
Yeah, I forgot.
it's a
You're basically a vampire. Just don't sleep.
it's it's all good. It's a short period that we do it anyways,
Sure.
like, first show is in a couple whatever, 3 weeks, and then I got a month and a half in between to the next one, so
Hmm.
should be able to get lots done.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So how is show season prep going? Are you as stressed as Brady was when we chatted last night, or are things going okay?
I don't think I'm as stressed as Brady right now. I'm actually sitting better than I was last year, let's put it that way. Last year, I was really
Nice.
stressed about the shows, but I don't know, I let's just say I have none 100% complete, but I do have 120 painted, so the epoxy racks will be rolling
Nice.
full tilt here moving forward, but,
Nice.
still got a bit of building what to do, but, um, so far I'm pretty good. I even told myself I'm not gonna stress out about it, just you get what you get. Because in my head, you always wanna bring as many as you can so you have
Right.
enough colors for everybody and just get as much done as you can, and I used to stress about that, but now it's just like, "Hey, I
I
get
mean,
what I they get what they get. I'm gonna bring as many as I possibly can
for
and,
sure.
go from there."
I mean, from firsthand experience in Wausau last year, I will say that I think you could bring literally 500 baits, and I'm not certain that it would matter. Like, I think that there would
Yeah.
be there they would just be flying, and it wouldn't matter how many you actually brought because the people. I mean, the damage that was done on Friday in such a short amount of time blew me away. Um, so
Yeah, that was my first experience, and it was definitely overwhelming, that first, whatever it was, hour and a half. That
yeah,
was rather
no kidding,
intense, rather intense. It's fun. Sucks
totally.
when it's such honestly, that first hour and a half is like a blur because 'cause you're just got 3
Mhm.
people in the booth helping and just going back and forth, and you were able to help, which was amazing.
Yeah, I
You
just kind
probably
of
sold a bunch of baits for me, honestly,
I
with you
stepped
being there.
I stepped in there for just a second just because, like, in case people had, like, questions on the baits, and then I before I knew it, I was, like, checking out people on your PayPal and getting Mel to help me, and I was just like, "Whoa."
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
No,
no,
that was awesome.
the one guy who came up and bought, like, a grand worth of baits I use as an example all the time, that was just wild. He's like, "It was because your videos," and I was like, "I guess it's nice to know people watch them because it
You
doesn't
know,
feel
it's
like it most of the
I'm
time."
pretty sure I'm talking about the same guy that did that. He came back later, throughout the night when the rush was over, and he came and started asking me about these baits. He's like, "I knew about these ones, but I don't know what these ones even do. Like, how do you fish them?" So then we sat there and talked to this guy for probably close to 45 minutes, explaining what
Nice.
each bait did, like the one dipstick compared to the other dipstick, and then like the
Mhm.
twitch bait and whatnot. So that was kind of a interesting. It was fun sitting
I have
there
a
talking to people.
Now that you mention that, I actually have a creator question for you. So on a lot of your XLs and your minis, you have the rounded lips, but on the regs, you usually go with the square lips. Is there a reason for that, or just kind of the way that you designed them?
I just found with I don't know if it's the length of the bait, just the way it works, and that square lip does get you a pretty steep
Sure.
when you're ripping it down, right? It gets you more steep, more of a dive and rise, I would say. But it still has that little crank motion. I don't know. I used to have a smaller round lip on them when I first started making them, but like where I fish, and that was the whole reason why I built my own baits is because of certain situations and areas that we
Right.
fish. I needed something that got a little deeper, and there was just something about it, and they started working right away. So I just kind of went with it, and then for whatever reason, the XL just ran way better with that bigger, rounder lip on it, and so
I
I stuck with that,
agree with
and
that.
it's like, I'm sure it's your favorite size to throw. It's definitely my
Yep.
favorite size to throw. I have actually over the last couple years though been throwing the minis a lot more, and
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because like your regular size is the size that you'd think would be like the crushable size, but like these
mm,
are the two that I throw probably more than any is just the mini. I need to take the shrink tube off the front one because I think that's kind of inhibiting some of the action. Anyway, that's besides the point. But the XL and then the mini are definitely the ones, and then the reg. It's like if I'm in a position to throw the reg, it's like I might as well just throw the XL.
mhm,
I like the mini for the springtime. You know, there were times where I threw this in the spring with Taylor and Gus and Brian and Ben, where it's just I feel like that is just a better option size profile wise. And then I moved a couple giants later in the spring in open water with this one, and just couldn't get them to go. That
yeah,
was funny. That was funny because like I was like, I just can't get these fish to do anything. So I put that on, and it was like literally my third cast. I moved that freaking just 4 foot whale with it. I was like, of course, never saw it again. But you know, whatever.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It
super
was a
super clear water coming in, doing the mouthing thing. That's just
oh yeah, that
it
never
ain't gonna
goes well.
happen. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a fish that I've seen do the mouthing thing come close to eating a bait, and
I Now that you mention that, I don't know if I have either. You know, I've had them. They'll come in and they'll play in the 8, but I can't think of one that I've had where they're doing the mouth and then they actually eat.
mhm.
I've had days where I'm on bodies of water where they're doing it and then I'll catch, 1 or 2 later in the day, but it's not like they're coming into the boat. It's a reaction where they're just crushing it out on the cast, or it's like 2 rips off the bank and then it's just like boom,
Oh
it
yeah. But, like,
so
5 years ago when I was on Lake of the Woods, I had a fish do this, like, and
mhm,
I went in the 8 so many times that my arm was getting tired, and every time I'd pause the bait to do a slow rise, it just did the
mhm.
and then would follow it in the 8 again, and you're just like, "Oh my god, this fish has gotta do something," and you'd stop it, and it'd just do it every time, and then finally, it's just like, "Whatever," and start casting again.
The one remedy to that, that I found that worked for me this spring was basically, um, I posted a video of that one too. Is It was on the Ridgeway, his like new swirly tail one, and I just happened to see the fish far enough out on the cast, and I'd had a few do that to me earlier in the day, where I was like, I'm just gonna let it rise to the surface and let it sit
Mhm.
there and just watch what this fish does. And it literally, like, no sooner than it cracked the surface tension of the water, that fish came unglued and just sideswiped it, and I couldn't believe it because it's like for how many fish I've had do the mouthing thing, just follow and then not commit, and then this one just kind of just, yep, and then it's like, what the heck?
Mhm. Well,
I know that there's
pret
lots of guys that talk about dead sticking them, so if I can see them out there,
yeah.
I will do that more often, but it's just hard.
Honestly, from the first day I ever started musky fishing, my buddy was showing me that, and I've seen it work many a times, and it's one of those things you probably wouldn't really believe it until you saw it, but
Hmm.
and I fish with more of his buddies, and they do it, especially on Lake of the Woods. It seems to work quite often, and for whatever it is, yeah, usually once it hits the surface, I think, because usually once it gets to, like, the actual level, as soon
Hmm.
as it pops out of the water, it always has that little roll, right? And it just kinda
Right.
sets sometimes it just fires them right up, and
Well,
it
and
works.
that's something I try and do with this one, especially in northern Wisconsin when we're on, clearer water. Is I try and let that thing death pause for, I don't know what, 10 to probably even 30 seconds at times out in front of me, I don't know, 15, 20 foot at least, if not more than that. And I've seen them swing and miss it at that distance, and then there's
Mm.
times too where they'll just come up and absolutely crush it. Um, but yeah, it's really weird when you know that they're down there and you see this huge flash behind the bait, and then just like don't feel anything because
Oh
it's like they
yeah.
just missed it or whatever. And what's nice too is these ones. I mean, I don't know what's special about this one. We've talked about it a bunch, but like it just rises so slow. It gives them plenty of
Mhm.
time to look at it and square up to it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that one's a killer.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't. I don't think I lost a couple on it this summer. I don't think I got any muskies with it this summer, just because things were a little bit different, and I was guiding more than I was fishing on my own. But I will say one of my funny fishing stories from this summer came on this one where I had this uh, older couple booked a day with me, and it was just a very strange thing. They were very adamant about taking a fish to get it mounted. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to explain to these people, like, if we catch a muskie, even if it's legal, like that thing's going home. I'll give you all the things that you need to get a replica. But
Mm.
anyway, so we're fishing and things are just like way slower than I'm used to for northern Wisconsin. And I'm fishing that thing out deep. And at the very end of the day, I get absolutely smoked out, on my deep structure stuff that I fish. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So I hand the rod off to the older gentleman, and he's fighting the fish, and it's like squirreling everywhere, doing crazy things. And I put it in the bag, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but it ended up being like a pike right at 30 inches, which to me is just like, that's a nice fish, whatever.
Mm.
I'd probably let it go. I'm not going to eat a pike that's that big. Um, but these two, this couple was just jacked. They've been telling me all day about these like 2.5 to 3 pound bass that they've been mounting, and they just wanted to add it to their trophy wall. And I'm like, that is great. You guys are happy. So we take a couple pics, put the pike in the live well, and we fished out the rest of the day, and which was like 15 minutes or so. And I take them back to the ramp, and like no sooner do I get them dropped off than like the husband is like coming down to the boat with a cooler, and I'm like, man, these guys were not kidding about taking a fish taking a fish home to mount. And I ask him, I'm like, okay, so you got the cooler. Are you taking the fish to mount now? And he's like, oh yeah, we're going straight to the taxidermist. So this fish, this pike goes out of the water into the live well, into the cooler, straight to the taxidermist. Just insane.
Hey,
I mean,
why not?
they were happy. So like that's great. The mission for the day was accomplished. No muskies died, and then they got the fish to put on the wall that they wanted. So you know what?
Well, they got a
Different
toothy critter.
Yeah,
Whatever.
different fish mean different things to different people. So, and that's the other
Absolutely.
thing too that I think I probably need to reflect on more is just like a lot of times these are the biggest fish that people catch or have ever caught.
Mhm.
Just because a 30-inch pike to you or me is just like whatever, that might be the biggest fish that they've ever seen. So, need to maybe check my perspective on that a little bit at times.
100%. I mean, I have family members that, like, they see my some pictures of fish I've caught, and they're like, "That thing like that I'm never going swimming where those things are," and blah, 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 like, "That thing's massive." It's like, yeah, like, they're big fish, and, I mean, if
Yeah,
someone's not in the world that we're in, you
totally.
know, it's it's foreign to them, so
Well, and that's like, so my dad's first muskie with me was on, I think it was like a Lake X Dr. Evil, and it was maybe 34 inches. I don't know if we even bumped it,
mm,
to be honest with you. But like, that was the biggest fish at the time that he'd ever caught, and he'd fished his entire life. And, it's just kind of crazy to think about from that perspective. Now,
mhm.
since he has caught mini muskies, actually, he's caught a bigger muskie than me. But like, it's just interesting how that perspective is different for every angler.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Love Gabe
Shoot.
owners. I don't know if he's referencing the hook that I have or not, or the hooks that are on here. Or do you know what he's referencing? I don't know.
Say it fast.
All right. I'm assuming that this is a Canadian inside thing that I'm not in on, but that's okay.
Nice. Ripping bingers. Who knows?
um, well, Adam, you were going to talk about something special you're going to do for one of the shows with something like this, right? I don't want to like jump the gun on that, but I also don't want to like get too far and forget about it either.
No, well, I've had many people over the years, they've come to the show and they're like, "This isn't the same as the one that Vavrock uses." Like, well, that was just, I was like, "That's just one I randomly built," whatever it was. I think I built 7 maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe it was 6 of them,
I remember
right? It
you
was
sent
some
me you sent me a picture of 3 and I could pick 1, and I picked the one with the foil. I think was but
Yes.
they were all the same shape,
It
I
was
think.
just a different shape, like, the lip angle's the same, the lip's the same, the weighting's the same, the lengths are the same. It was just I kind of put a funky body shape on it and kinda went
Mhm,
with it, and I ran them and I was like, "Oh, these things are running pretty cool, they look good." So I
mhm.
foiled them up and whatnot, and then I had them on my Facebook page when I was doing that a lot more often. So I, decided I'm gonna build, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12, maybe 15 if we're lucky, but I'm gonna have them at the Wisconsin show, and I'm probably gonna replicate the exact pattern.
Oh, okay. I mean, I like foil. Anytime I can get foil, I'm here for it, and honestly, like, this bait probably more than any other just made me a believer in that. Everywhere I've taken it, it's moved really big fish. I've either caught fish, lost fish with it, and just, like, if you're fishing super clear water, you can see that thing flashing from who even knows how far away, and, if you can see it out of the water, what's it look like to the fish in it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, it looks wicked in clear water. I
Well, and
have
I think it just looks supernatural. I mean, it's just one of those things where when fish are distressed, you think about like fighting in a crappie or a bluegill and how much that thing is just like flipping and flashing and how much light
mhm,
that's putting off as you're doing it. There's just not there's some things that paint can do and some things that paint cannot do, unfortunately. and
100%.
yeah, so
But yeah, so I'll have some of those in Wisconsin show. I'll obviously have the normal ones, but,
yeah, if you can get your hands on these, highly recommend. Yeah, I this thing I will fish it until it's dead, and then I think we had a gentleman's agreement too. Once it's dead, I have to send it back to you, so then you can figure out what is special about this one.
yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully it lasts a little bit longer. Hopefully it
Yeah,
lasts a lot longer for you.
I mean, you're not gonna get it back until it stops catching fish, and it had some pretty good. There's a couple spots on the epoxy I fished, like this one right here is from that very first tiger I caught on it, and
Mm,
it just like first fish I caught on it punctured it all the way down to the foil, just abusive. Um, okay, so James is asking, what other shows are you going to, Adam?
New York, then the Wisconsin show, then the Odyssey. Those are the 3 shows.
Yeah, no, that's great. So what is gonna be like the show spread at like Wausau and New York?
I say Wausau, New York are pretty similar. Gonna be a lot of, like, the mini dipsticks. Dipsticks in general, regular mini. Like, New York, I bring, like, 5. Um, I'll have a few of, like, the Nomad Shad, like, little trolling baits, and, maybe 10 of the Mav Twitches, but just, like, the standard smaller stuff, right? I feel like Wisconsin
Mhm,
and New York are very similar when it comes to, bait sizes, I would say. And then, like,
mhm,
the Odyssey, there'll be a lot of the bigger stuff, some bigger crankbaits, the XL dipsticks, regular dipsticks, just
yeah.
stuff like that. The mainstream, but there will be a new bait in Wisconsin that I will be bringing. And the only reason I'm bringing it is because Rich Reinhardt was very adamant that I started making more of these. So, and
So
he's told a bunch of people.
what's the bait? Can you reveal the bait or not?
I can.
Okay.
This is actually so I don't have the one that I'll be bringing to the show. This is actually a bigger version, but this just gives you an idea. It's the same body shape, tail, and everything, but This is, I don't know if you can see that good
Nice.
enough, but this is called a dive and glide, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It dives down, and you can get it to go side to side very, very easily, like butter, honestly. And it shoots side to side pretty good. Like one of my
Mhm.
favorite glide baits was always the Manta, just probably because it was one of the first glide baits I ever used.
Sure.
And I like the wide glide, and it's gonna have a slow rise. Also, if you're just like actually just pulling it like a dive and rise, it does just do the typical dive and rise with a bit of wobble. But if you start working it like a glide bait, it will just start shooting, rising up, shooting, rising up. And then if you wanna play, if you wanna get it to go a bit deeper, shoot a different angle, you can obviously bend the tail a bit. Like, I was throwing this one this year a little
Nice.
bit. This, like I said, this is the longer version. The other version's like 7.5 inches. This one's closer to 11,
Oh,
but,
okay. So the other one's a little shorter than that one. So
a
is the
little
other
shorter.
so is that kind of off of the regular dipstick profile or the mini if it's a little shorter or kind of in between?
Like, to give you an idea, well, without the tail, right?
Right.
It's a little bit longer than the mini body, but it's
Okay.
got the same shape and whatnot.
Okay.
If you really wanna see some pictures, you have to talk to Rich. Like, the funny story about this is I made these baits, I think, 3 years ago or 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and I just play with them. You know how I am, I just make these one-off random baits for myself,
Sure.
and, I had it in my tackle box. We were out musky fishing, but one of those days, so we went to an adjacent lake, and he said, I've never caught a chain pickerel at this time." And he's like, "There's big bass and chain pickerel in here." I was like, "Well, let's go try it for a little bit, and we'll go back at sunset to the other lake." And then I proceeded to, I think I caught 15 fish in the first hour on this thing, and these things were crushing, including like a 5.5 pound largemouth on it.
Oh,
And my
geez.
buddy's like, "What the heck?" And he's throwing like twitch baits, and I think he caught like 2 fish, and I was in the back of the boat with this thing. And then it was one of those things I talked about for a little bit, and then, like a lot of my one-off baits, I just put it in my Rubbermaid container, one of 2 that probably have, I don't know, 180 to 200 random baits in there.
Mhm.
And then I went to Wisconsin this year to fish with a bunch of guys like Gus and Taylor and Rich,
Mhm.
and I was showing Rich a couple baits, and he's like, "What's this thing?" I was like, "Oh, give it a try." I'm like, "It runs real sweet." And he casted it for all of 30 seconds and just looked at me, and he's like, "You need to make more of these now." So I ended up building them a couple more. I sent a few out and got pretty good results right away. And then he just kept pushing. He's like, "You got to get these out. You got to get these out." So I told him, like, "Fine, I'll bring them out in Wisconsin. That's when I'll release them." So he's done a few seminars with them. He's been showing people. I've been getting a lot of messages about it.
Mhm.
So the only place you're going to be able to get them, at least this year, will be in Wisconsin.
That checks out. I'm gonna need one of those, Adam. I really am gonna
I
need
will
one.
make sure you get one.
All right, thank you.
I will make
I
sure.
I can think of about like 20 places off the top of my head where I could use one of those. Yeah, and you talked about the Mav Shads too. Like those will be in Wisconsin. I love those things.
Yeah.
I moved again. I didn't catch on them this year, but I you can talk to Taylor and Gus. I moved a couple really nice fish with those guys on that, and I just couldn't get it to go. One of those things where I probably should have just death paused it for a lot longer because they just sit down there rather
Mm.
than in clear water bringing it closer to the boat and having a higher probability to bust yourself, I guess you could say. And
Yeah.
that's kind of just what happens sometimes. Those.
Yeah, especially on clear water. Yeah, you
Mhm.
learn the if you're gonna be doing those death rises, it's like halfway on the cast instead of
Right.
5 feet from the boat.
Well, and I
But
thought I could get her fired up, and it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. And like she came right up to it, and then I tried to like bring her into the 8 to get her fired up, and that was kind of where she did a similar thing to this one, where it was just kind of like "Meh," just not into it
yeah.
after. And I'm guessing that's a clear water thing, where then they could kind of see the boat or at least the boat shadow. Yeah. Tell me, Taylor, or tell me, Adam, about the Wisconsin trip. Good, like Freudian slip there, bringing Taylor into it because I know that you fish with some of those guys up there. But tell me about that trip.
It was a very fun trip. It wasn't the most productive trip, but, um, I got there, like, just as a f was it? It was just getting frontal, it got really hot, and just soon as I got there, even Taylor's like, "Man," he's like, "It's gonna be a tough one today." He's like, "Hopefully, we can get one to move." And it was not from a lack of trying, that's for sure. We were casting, we went to a bunch of different lakes, we even went and fished offshore at one point, and, we seen a bunch of fish on side imaging and whatnot, but just nothing was moving, and it seemed to do that for the next 4 days, and
Mm,
I'm not fishing with Joe Schmoes, right? You had Taylor, then I fished with Gus, then I fished
yeah,
with Rich, and I went and fished with Musky Mafia and, Jamie DeGroot eventually,
right.
and I ended up getting 1 fish on Green Bay, it was just a little guy, but the trip was awesome. I've never been that part of Wisconsin to go see everything, and to fish with those guys and see how everyone was doing their thing, like,
Mhm.
that alone was worth the trip, and just, all good dudes, all great dudes, and I highly recommend anyone to go fishing with those guys. They have great setups,
Oh, yeah.
very easy to talk to, and we had a great time. It was cool. I like to watch people, I like fish, especially people that are way better at fishing than I am, and
Same.
just pick their brains at why they're doing this, like, "Why did you come here?" And then, you know what? Me and, Gus and myself, we went and fished a clear body of water, and I'm very familiar with clear lakes, and it actually reminded me of a lake back home,
Mhm.
and we're shooting ideas off each other. We moved a bunch of fish. We had a couple cool blow-ups on top water that didn't get hooked. We that day was actually pretty fun. Um, had a really nice one come up, and we went back at it and had it come up again, but just couldn't get the fish to go. And actually, we had one come following a top water pretty much 3 feet after it landed, and just kept coming to the boat, and just disappeared about a foot away from the boat. Just as it was getting, the sun was getting down. And we put in a long day that day. We stayed a few hours after dark and fished, and just couldn't get it done. So then I went and fished with Rich, got to fish a river. So we got to fish all these different types of water, which is awesome for we don't have that kind of stuff where I am.
Me
I
either,
can't just
dude.
go to a river that's 20
Mhm.
feet wide and there's muskies in there. Just all our rivers are, the Niagara, the St. Lawrence, like the French River. We got
Giant.
massive, massive, giant rivers that are take you a lifetime to even come close to breaking down. So
Yeah.
to have that kind of stuff, and even just, jump to one little lake that's just tiny little puddle, and then you go to another lake that's 3, 4,000 acres, then you go to another lake that's 800 acres. It's such a cool area, and I'm hoping to get back up there next summer. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like you just need to go back.
Absolutely.
I love my Wisconsin homies. They are just Wisconsin is just like my home away from home. I mean, obviously, we have the family cabin and all the things, but it's the Northwoods, there's something special about it.
I
But
agree. I agree.
I will say, like, in August up there, because that was when you went, right? It was August?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Because I think
Mid-August?
Yeah, because I think we just missed each other. Because you were gonna be up there, like, around the time that normally, like, we transition back, because that's when school starts for me.
Mhm.
Um, so hopefully we can maybe plan that a little bit better this year, and if maybe be up there at the same time, but that's kind of been my experience up there in August, is it's like, you got boom or you got bust, and it's just, yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one who soaks up Taylor's, high skies days, though. At least there's 2 of us
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And you know what? All these guys, like, they let me everyone I stayed with, they let me stay with, got to stay with them and their families and had food and beers, like, it was just a great time, honestly. And the reason I was told to go up there at that time is because that's when Green Bay usually starts turning on, so
Mhm.
I was all for the Green Bay fishing.
Yeah,
It's
speaking of Green Bay, we've got Bob Pertica tuning in right now. So yeah, another one of those good Scotty homies. Learned a lot from him. Sorry about the Packers. Um, that was a fun game to watch, though. I had no skin in the game, but it was a fun game to watch last night. Um, but yeah, it's you know that is generally the time that it turns on. I keep telling people like Phil and Bob that I will get up there sometime in August, and just need to make it happen one of these days. Because the fish that live in Green Bay, they do not
Mhm.
live here. I can tell you that.
Well, it's Green Bay, it's real funny, like, I'm used to, obviously, the Great Lakes, and
Hmm.
both times we went out, like, the first day we went out towards the end of the day, like, there was legit 5-footers out there. It's just, "Are you okay with this?" I was like, "Man, I know all about this stuff." Like, it's and I mean, like, the boats, that's a sight to see in itself when you go out to Green Bay and just see the
Hmm.
quality of boats that are out there in that area, and, like, we don't
Totally.
have that by us where there's 2 spots where there's could be 50 boats on 1 spot, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It was interesting to see that when I was with Jamie, we unfortunately, he lost one. We didn't get to see it, but he got rocked pretty good, and it's one of those, I know you don't wanna lose one when you're out there, but
Totally. So did you go down there with a friend, or did you just ride solo and just kind of hop around?
you know what? I just jumped in the truck. I left, I think, 9 o'clock at night, drove through the night, got to Taylor's. We fished all day. And then I think I accumulated about 14 hours of sleep in 5 days.
Oh man.
And then after my last day of fishing, we got up with early in the morning with Jamie. We fished till dark, just into dark a bit. I told him, like, I do have to drive home after this. I think I left at 8 o'clock, then drove through the night and got home. But it's yeah, I planned it with everyone. Everyone was kind enough to, book some time off, and I let them know when I was coming, and they were all for it. So it worked out real good. And I got to I stopped at I don't know how many quick trips. Those quick trips are wicked. We definitely
They're
don't have
good.
those here. Yeah, they're
The only
awesome.
one that's better is Casey's. Casey's is down here. You gotta get some Casey's breakfast
Casey's,
pizza. It'll change your life.
Casey's. Well, I need to get down there. Maybe early season when I'm in Missouri, I can
Yeah.
make something
Let
work where I can get 'em to Iowa.
let me know. Keep me in the loop. I know that those times very much like how do I want to say overlap very closely with like when Taylor and Gus are
Mhm.
here and when Brian and Ben are here and those kinds of things. But yeah, if we could ever make something happen while you're down there in Missouri, that would be awesome. Because that
Absolutely.
because when it's good for Rissell down there, it's good for us here too. So it's just kind of a different program that we're running. He's got a yeah, his is cool. The pontoon trolling thing. Yeah.
It's it's so fun. I'll be going there every spring until I can't. But yeah, I have a blast. And then we had the spoonbill adventure, which was
Yeah,
we're
talk
also
about
doing
that.
that
That was
next year.
nuts. Talk That's nuts, dude. Talk about that, please.
So yeah, like Nick, he told me, he's like, "Do you want to go and catch a spoonbill?" I was like, "Absolutely." Like, they're not around us. I've seen pictures of them, kind of on a bucket list. And he's like, "Well, there's a guide here." He's like, "I know him, we can get out." So it's like, "Well, let's book a day and do it." The musky fishing was horrible. I remember the day I got there, that first day, the water temperature rose like 15 degrees. It
Oof.
got so hot as soon as I showed up there. We had 2, I think, rips. One was actually I don't know, a 4-pound largemouth that ate a Kirby,
Oh, jeez.
doing like 5.5 miles an hour over open water, which was kind of funny. That was a first. Um, and then the next day, he's like, "We're gonna go with this guy," and this I can't remember his tag, but I'll send it to you. Joe Bossman on Instagram. So he fishes. He's a bass fisherman,
Mhm.
has a sweet boat, and he's done this his whole life. So we went to Lake of the Ozarks,
Mhm.
and nowadays, I guess back in the day, like, I'm a newbie when it comes to spoonbill, but he's talking about how they used to use dipsy divers and big hooks to snag them, and you just rip jig and snag them. But now, obviously, with
Mhm.
technology, they're using live scope. And so he's got like a 2-ounce weight and two like 10-aught giant musky hooks on the line. And he just on his trolling motor looking back and forth. And obviously, a spoonbill sticks out like a sore thumb compared
Oh,
to
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, they're
And like
enormous.
those, his graphs are just so clear, right? Like for a professional bass guy, like
Oh
it's
yeah.
an insane how dialed in their graphs are. And like you could see the full nose and he would get us within 20 feet and you just start pitching over it. And so the first one I caught was about a 50 pounder and you're allowed two per person. I should also
Hmm.
say there is a snagging season in Missouri and we were at the tail end of it.
Right.
And then it was Nick's turn. He caught one. It was roughly 50 pounder. It actually had a snub nose instead of the long paddle.
Really.
And
That's
then
interesting.
Nick jumped back up. He caught another one. It was like a, and we're eating these, right? He kept them,
Hmm.
we eat them. And he caught like maybe a 25, 30 pounder. And then Joe's like, let's look for a real big one. So we're scanning around. You know, you see a bunch of them. He's like, that one's not all right. And then we found this one, and he's just like, that's a big fish. Like, that's a big, big fish. And it took us probably 50 minutes to snag this thing. Like, pitching at it, it would move. And he even said, he's like, "Soon, if you ever hit their bill with like the weight or something, he's like, they will just take off swimming and take
Hmm.
off swimming." And at one point, I hit it and it took off swimming, and we had to find it again, and we found it again. And then finally, we got it in the right position and we snagged it. And that thing, when it took off, went down under the boat. It spun the boat and started pulling his boat. And it ended, I don't know, maybe a 15-minute fight. And we got it in. And after it was all said and done, Nick and I waited at his house and it was like 99 pounds. It was 60, I believe, from nose to the fork of the tail was 65 inches and it had
Oh
almost a
my
40-inch
gosh.
girth on it. So it was what a blast. They had to put it on my lap. It was just so heavy to maneuver and whatnot.
Oh, I believe it.
Such a fun experience and got to eat one, got to learn how to clean them and
Nice.
eat them. And they're
I've heard.
actually pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard that they're not too bad if you know what you're doing to prepare them. How did you and Nick cook it up?
So first, the fun thing is like I don't know if you know, but there's no actual bones
Right. They're
in
all
a paddlefish,
cartilage. They're
all
like a cartilage.
cartilage.
Hmm.
So like you have to hang it up. A, they're just so heavy, and
Right.
then you cut a ring around their tail and you twist it, and then you just pull their whole spinal cord out, and it just
Hmm.
right, all the blood drains out. Then you open it up and gut it, take the head off, and it looks like a body of a tuna that you'd see. And then we
Right.
slabbed it up in steaks, and then he just cut the skin off and any like the gray part of the meat, and we just basically fried them up like that. And
Cool.
like to give it, it's the texture is a lot different than fish. It's more like shark or almost like chicken breast.
Okay.
It kind of tasted like catfish to me, which I thought catfish is pretty good. So he did
Fair
it up
enough.
good. Like it was good. Like I think we had between the four fish, it was like 70 pounds of meat when they're all dressed. Like
Jeez, that's
it
so
was a
much.
lot. It was a
Were you
lot.
were you able to take any back with you, or did
No,
you fly down there?
I flew down
Oh,
there.
okay.
So Nick even told me he hasn't bought meat from a grocery store in like 20 something years. So he's got a couple freezers just full of deer and turkey, hog. And so we
That's
actually filled the
that's living right
freezer.
there.
And then even the next day, we went out and got a limit of walleye so we could eat more fish.
There you
It's
go.
just,
That's
so it
awesome.
was a very fun experience. And we are going to be doing that again next year because I had such a blast.
Heck yeah.
And we even got to do some crappie fishing on there, which was kind of cool. Caught some bass and stuff. It was another lake off the bucket list. I've always heard of the Ozarks, known about it, know
Mhm.
it's a destination lake, and to go and fish it and have the heaviest fish I've ever caught in my life. That was real cool. And he's actually preparing the skull for me.
Oh,
I don't
that's
know if
awesome.
you'll
Yeah.
have to go online and Google what they look like. It almost looks like spider webs instead of a solid bone. And
Yep.
so I should be done by the time I'm there next time, which would be sometime in either late April or May.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know, like, Ben went down there, he was down there before you, and they got I think he got one, and we talked about cooking it up here, and we just kinda ran out of time. I mean, you know, the
Mm.
long days on the water. I don't know
Oh
how they
yeah.
do I don't know how they do those skull things, because like so here's like a jawbone from 44 that unfortunately like either had a heart attack or something weird happened and it died on me. And
Yep.
I tried to preserve the skull, but like they've got so much cartilage just holding their head together basically that
Mhm.
it's really hard. So like a paddlefish to get the spider webbing, of all the nerves that go into the paddle. I don't know how people do that, but like Yeah,
What
I
it
found I
sounds Go ahead, sorry.
no, I was gonna say I found a floater as well and tried it with that floater skull
Mm,
in Wisconsin, and I haven't figured out the way to do it. And like I kept this because I think it's cool, and like I try and pay homage to the fish because I appreciate the fish, but it just sucks that it was a good one, had a heart attack or whatever, and just it went from being very alive in the net to I went to put it back and it just didn't go home. I
yeah.
don't know, very strange, but it
Well,
happens.
it sounds like he told me they use flesh-eating beetles that you
See, and
can
I've
get,
I've heard that too. Yeah.
and it sounds like you just basically put it in the box with a bunch of flesh-eating beetles, and you just let them do their thing, and I'm assuming it probably takes months, I don't know for
hmm
sure, but sounds like that's what they do, and sounds like that's what he was gonna do. I don't know what the actual process is about it and whatnot.
Hopefully it works. That would be a sick thing to have in your house, no doubt about it.
Absolutely, because I told him if he does that, I wanna paint it like one
Oh
of my
hell yeah,
favorite fish patterns, and then, like, epoxy it, and then I'd have it somewhere in the man cave or down here in the bay cave or something.
you bet.
That'd be wicked. Hopefully, I get a
S-
bigger one. I want a
yeah,
120 pounder now.
dude, they get so big. It's nutty, and they've got like legit blue catfish. But the only reason that I don't target the blue catfish because I think that the Iowa record or Missouri record was broken recently, and it was like 120 or 130 pound
That's
catfish. I don't know what it was.
insane.
Just stupid big. Like the dude couldn't even lift it.
Is that the
Um,
one when he's by himself in the boat?
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I've seen that
that's
video. Yeah, just
and
absurd.
and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but that fish still doesn't eat top water. So you know what? Here I am being a musky guy. But yeah, I mean, like props to that guy because like to get those kind of upper echelon fish, you're doing something
Mm.
right, doing something special. So catfishing isn't my thing, but props to the guys who are catching those like whatever 80 to 100 pound flatheads and blue cats. Like,
Well, Nick and I also talked about that because he's like, "There's giant catfish." I'm like, "I'm down for a day just to fish." Like we have catfish here, obviously, and
hmm
I biggest catfish I ever had in my boat was just over 20 pounds. And we actually caught it this year while walleye jigging on Lake Erie. And but we have a lot of 8 pound to 13, 14 pound. I'm sure there's a lot bigger, but not that I ever go after them or target them.
hmm
But it's just when I go to different places, I just like trying whatever. And if they got big catfish, why not give it a go?
check that comment there, Adam.
Oh yeah, nice. Congrats. 48 in the Kawarthas. That's a big fish in the Kawarthas too.
Well, yeah, and like on the map, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm also not surprised you got a 5 pound largemouth with it. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't caught a 5 pound largemouth on mine yet. Um,
It'll
based on
happen.
where we fish. I don't want it to happen. I'd rather catch muskies. I don't care. I've caught plenty. I've caught so many 5 pound largemouth. Like, if I turned in like all my master anglers from when I was younger, I'd have freaking 30 of them on my wall,
Yeah.
if not more than that. But
Hey, they can
yeah,
be fun.
they're cool, but they don't get to be 40 pounds, and that's kind of where we're at on
Unfortunately.
this.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah,
I
that's
get that.
cool. Congrats, dude, on that fish. That's awesome. That's bigger than anything I've caught
Absolutely.
on the Mab Shad so far. So that's great.
That's a good fish anywhere. A 48. Hell
Heck
yeah.
yeah. Heck yeah. Adam, you got any new patterns for this year, or what kind of patterns are you cooking up? Let's do a little show and tell.
Oh, we got a
I know,
bunch
I
of
know that we
patterns.
talked. I know we talked a little bit about that.
What we got? I don't know if they're 100% new, but di- we'll grab a couple here.
Sure.
Oh, none of these are epoxied yet, but what we got here? A little,
The
I don't
bluegill.
know if
The
you can
bluegill
see that.
pattern is money.
Little
I
bluegill
appreciate.
pattern.
I know that the bait and the pattern takes you longer, so I appreciate that you
The
have
Mavs, yeah.
let me have one.
Those This one I just did today, actually. It's kind of a crappie, and, like, a lot of
Oh,
these,
that's
especially with, like, the fine mesh on
yeah,
them, they'll
yeah,
really come alive with epoxy because there is a ton of different layers with metallics and stuff in them.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, I
yeah,
like I like how muted
there's your
that
Mav.
is. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Just something
Someone
that's
Oh, that's great.
this is probably one of like this pattern. I changed it a little bit, but
Mhm.
for ever since I've been building baits, this pattern has caught.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's
the
4 over 54 so far between all the baits out there.
that pattern, that gold and black bars, that's the first Mav Shed I've got is in that pattern, and that thing just crushes. It looks like so many different bait fish. To quote Taylor, "Gold will make the muskies fold, and everything looks gold when it's fighting or
That's true.
struggling,
Yeah.
maybe." Um,
And here's
that
a nether style, almost suckerish, with
oh,
some
dude, that looks
copper.
how did you get that? How did you get the, like, kinda lavender, burgundy kind of effect there? Is that a paint or is that a blend?
It's again, it's just there's so many like when I put like any of the baits that have like the fine mesh on them, like I just layer them with tons of different colors. And I probably at the end of the day, I don't think most people would notice, but I try to make them a little different. And like again, once the epoxy hits these, like the copper is going to shoot out. There's gold in
Oh,
there. There's
yeah.
different silvers and just different paint techniques when you're spraying one color and it's still wet and you spray another color over top of it. That's where they blend a lot better rather than having it completely dry.
Mhm.
So there's just some little techniques, and obviously you can never go wrong with a
Standard perch?
standard perch pattern. And this is the one Brady really likes. This is kind of a
Oh, that's awesome.
chartreuse walleye with some copper, which I
Dude,
will be actually for
that thing is
Wisconsin. I'm going to do
money.
a fluorescent green version.
Yes.
Um,
Like a flowage
like
walleye
a
kinda deal?
yeah, like a flowage walleye.
Nice.
We got a couple more. I've
Adam,
been knocking out a lot of doubles.
you're not gonna have any baits to take home after Wausau with these patterns that you're talking about. My goodness.
Well, that would suck because I have the Odyssey the following week. But here's but here's just another Mav Shad with a different.
Dude, that's awesome.
This one's just a standard, like a orange tiger. This one's
Yeah,
done really well for customers as well who like the whole black, gold, and orange theme.
yeah, I like this is the purple tiger, I think is what you called this one. So simple, so effective, like, just black, but not over the top. I love it.
I mean, black.
It just
I
works.
just I just know from experience now and talking to people, like especially in New York. I feel like they say like not many guys are into just black baits. They do have a lot of shad and a lot of trout in their
Mm,
waters, so, alewife, and so it seems like if you're gonna go either white or black, it's lean towards the white side.
sure.
So and then I'll have obviously, like, all white with some type of paint or purple iridescents that are in it and, like, Cisco patterns and stuff. Actually, the shad pattern, I think I sent you a picture of that one. This one's, 2 more patterns.
No, no, you're good, dude. You can do
But
all the show and tell.
again, this one has a bunch of different iridescents in it and whatnot for a shad.
That looks great.
And then one that works absolutely everywhere, and probably one of my favorite ones. You can never go wrong with
Orange
orange
belly
belly.
perch. Yeah.
They fire pretty much everywhere, and,
So I've got a question. So like the epoxy, like for me, now that I've been kind of messing with paints, it's crazy how much life like the epoxy will draw out of that when you do it correctly. But
yep.
my question for you with painting is, so is perch an easier pattern for you to paint, or is it like one of those deals where you're putting in so much random detail on these guys that it's like, I don't know, that it's not as easy? Because
Um,
for me, perch looks phenomenal, but it's honestly probably one of the easier patterns that I paint.
I I don't think it's that bad, honestly. I think the ones that take the longest, like, this definitely took some time
Yeah, I could.
coming up with a bluegill pattern with just the different colors involved, and
Yeah, I mean, I've also struggled with the bluegill too. Like, there's just so many random things about like there's so many colors like with a bull bluegill to like try and wrap into one
mhm.
thing.
Like,
My second attempt was a lot better than my first, but yeah, I can see why. You got like golds and teals and blues and purples and oranges. There's a lot
like,
going on there.
I'm gonna show you one of these one-off baits, but this is like one of my favorite paint jobs, and this one works pretty much everywhere.
Oh
This
man.
is look at the size of this lip.
What what is the what is the avenue that you're like where are you using that thing? If it's a one off, it's probably yours, but where are you trying that thing?
It is, if you can see the lip on this thing, it is tore up good. So
Mhm.
it is the bait I'm putting down when we are going over reefs and I want to smash the bottom. Let's put it that way. So it's
Okay,
it's
fair
done
enough.
well. It grinds down. It's again, this is a late fall bait. I had a couple. I haven't had it ripped yet. Like I've had a bunch. Like I will use live scope when I'm trolling,
Mhm.
right? So I've had a bunch of fish follow it. I mean, the thing pounds insanely hard,
They're gonna
and
they're gonna know
it
it's
gets
there
down
without a
there
bit.
quick. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and just watching the rod, it's like make sure the rod leash is on that one because it's pumping pretty hard.
Do
And
you,
I like it because it gets down so quick. Like it's more than a 2-to-1 ratio. Watching it on
oh,
live
wow.
scope, let out like 30 feet of line and it drives down just like 16 feet. It just
Wow.
it gets down there. So that's like the first bait I'd have through, and it's just smashing everything on the bottom. We're fishing Shield Lakes. Therefore, the wake up bait. I'm sure you've heard that before from different people.
Mhm.
Brad Hoppy's talked about it. Kevin Goldberg has talked about it. So I
Totally.
was like, I'm gonna make a bait that gets down there real quick with not much line out, and that thing could be the wake up bait. And it's big and noticeable. And if there's anything around, they're definitely gonna hear it or see it.
Oh, no doubt about it, especially with the aluminum, because I feel like if that aluminum is hitting those rocks down there, like, that's gotta be a different sound than, whatever acrylic or plastic, um, most of the baits have. Like, that's gotta be just super loud.
Actually, a funny story about that bait. The first time I was using it, we were running it. It was in the water for probably an hour, and I'm just watching the rod as we're turning. So now it was the outside, so it's just thumping, and all of a sudden it just goes slack, and like the line just snapped.
Oh,
I was like,
jeez.
I was like, no. So we like circled around, and it was fairly rough, but like two guys were on the front of the boat, and after 5 minutes, luckily we found it. It snapped our leader. It was a 150-pound leader that had snapped, and obviously there was a fray or something, but
Mhm.
just that much tension on it over time. Again, I'm smashing it into rocks. There's shelves, you're in 25 feet, and all of a sudden it comes up to 8 feet, and you're like, oh, you as much as you can, but and that thing's taking the view. So I'm assuming the leader was just getting frayed as could be. So,
Yeah, probably.
but I
D
was like, no, I just took so much time to build this lure, and it's been in the water for an hour. And then sure enough, we found it and we netted it and we tied her back on and we put her back out. But
Nice.
here's
Um,
another one off I just want to show you because this one is just
yeah,
a wicked paint job for I think I
please
showed you
do.
this one for like a Cisco pattern.
Oh, yeah, I remember you sending me
This thing's
snaps
just
of
got
that.
ridiculous and this thing
Oh
runs.
my
It's
gosh.
the hardest pulling minnow bait I've ever ran in my life. And I'm probably gonna be making more of these. I want to get these out to a few guys. Because these things thump extremely hard. So it's just that I know it looks like a normal minnow bait, but you can kind of see how that's built. There's a
Oh,
little something
wow.
to it, and having that little wing
Interesting.
like that, it just like it thumps a lot harder and it moves a lot more than a typical minnow bait. So I'll probably be making a bunch of those
That's super
for next
interesting.
fall. That was
Um,
a late fall troller.
totally. Before I ask you how your late fall program went this year, do you like mill or CNC your lips, or do you have a guy that kind of does that or help you with it?
I have a guy that does most of like all my normal lips,
Mhm.
for the dipsticks and the Mavs and stuff. He does those, but when I start coming up with these other ones, I generally have just so many lips laying around that I'll cut them different, or I do have some my own Lexan that I'll cut random stuff.
Sure.
Like that aluminum, I actually took it because well, now that I have a new boat, I don't know if I'll be working on the boat I was previously building, but I had some aluminum laying around.
Sure.
So I was like, I need a lip that's bigger than my DC8s. So I came up with that thing, and it gets down there. It's big. It's so that's normal. I just cut some for the one-off ones. I'll cut myself. Let's put it that way.
Totally. Looks way better than a normal minnow. I would agree with that. It does look way better than a normal minnow bait. How was your late fall stuff this year? Thinking about how quickly we went from like a normal fall to the dead of winter here, I can only
Mhm.
imagine what that was like for you guys. So how was fishing in the late fall for your normal program this season?
It was a struggle for me personally, but other guys I know in our area, they crushed it this year. There's lots of fish. I'm like a lot of fish we just couldn't get in the net,
Mm.
unfortunately. Um, Again, like honestly, this was probably the worst season I've had since I started musky fishing in general. But then again, like the more I thought about it, it's like I'm always exploring new water when I'm
Hmm.
going out in my local area. Like I
Totally.
know where there's fish caught, and I've gone and did a bunch of different areas and just trying to get a little, this area looks so good. There's got to be fish here. Again, it's just
Right.
such a big body of water. So I did a lot of exploring and I fished a bunch of new lakes this year and uh started the year off with I went because New York's tiger season, they have a tiger season which opens in I think it's May. Jesse would
Hmm.
probably know better than I did, but went to a lake and caught a couple tigers to start the year, which was great, including a 40 incher. So that's my biggest tiger.
That's awesome.
Um, and then yeah, the year was okay. I did a lot of multi-species stuff this year, which is a first in a long time.
That's
And
okay too.
now that I have my own big water boat, that I was able to do a lot of walleye fishing on Lake Erie. And by jigging and casting, I never trolled for them once.
Nice.
Just because like the walleye fishing, I'm sure you've heard in Lake
Oh yeah.
Erie over the last couple years has been just absolutely insane. And last year was like insane. How sorry, I got my son here. What's up,
No
bud?
worries.
You want to say hi? Come over. Give him a wave.
Hey, what's up?
That's Matt. He just got out of the bath. He had to show me something.
Oh, no
But
worries. I know that program well, where
yeah.
the transition.
But yeah, so I got to do a lot of walleye fishing and it was fun. And like everyone around us, they troll for them.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm not trolling for these fish. I'm going out and we're going to cast for them and jig for them. And what a blast that was. It just go out there and it's just, especially when you musky fish, you can go weeks without catching a fish. And then you go out there
Right.
and catch 30 or 40. And I never broke the 30-inch mark, but I think we had like 7 or 8 that were like 29 to 29 and a half inch walleye.
Those are
And I
big.
will like got that 20-pound channel cat, like just stuff like that was super fun. And then in the fall, I even got into a bunch of smallmouth stuff, right? Like obviously Lake Erie's got some absolute
Mhm.
whale smallmouth. So I went out there by myself one time. I was musky fishing. I was like, kept seeing these fish on live scope, went back. And then, you're out there catching 4.5 pounders. Lost one that was probably pushing 6 pounds, if not bigger, right at the side of the boat. I had my musky
Jeez.
net. I had my musky net right there. I was like, this fish is giant and it's just jumping and trying to scoop a bass with your musky net. Didn't work out. But so I got to do a lot of exploring. But like the fall fishing wasn't great. I got to go fish an area that I've been trying to fish for 2 years now. And then when it's an area, it's on Lake Ontario, and you can only get out there when the winds are a certain direction, and the winds
Mhm.
were the right direction. Mind you, this is when the season's coming to an end and full winter was in our face. And I was actually on the boat by myself and getting up, checking the rods. I had probably 1,000 pounds of ice and snow on my boat
Oh,
within two
jeez.
hours.
Oh my
Like, I mean,
goodness.
and then I stood up, like, I'm checking my rods. I stood up and it got pretty slippery. And I was like, this is insane. I'm by myself out here. There's not a soul in sight. I'm pretty
Yeah.
far from anybody. So I was like, I'm gonna call this and go back to where everyone else was fishing.
Yeah, that's
But
probably smart.
I got the lay of the land and I got to do some auto charting and do some reconnaissance for hopefully this coming season because our fall is the exact same. Like this is the
Mm.
first time in I think 10 years that I didn't fish the end of our season because we just
Yeah.
all the launches were locked up. It was just overnight, things just dropped drastically, snow and just it was it was depressing. Because then, like, 2 weeks after closer, we had plus temperatures, snow disappeared, and
Mhm.
then it was, like, a week later, the snow came back, and it was just yeah, I'm sure it's been the same, but, like, we'd have freezing cold weather, bunch of snow, warms up, rains, freezes, and then rinse and
Right.
repeat. The cycle's been like that, and, like, 2 days ago, we were double digits, like, it was 15 degrees out, I coulda wore shorts outside, and then the next
Ye
day it's raining, then it turns ice overnight, and now it's back down to -10, so it's
Yeah,
been very weird. Weird
it's
year.
it's it's been a weird winter here as well. I figured with the way that things, cooled off so quickly here, and we had, like, safe ice the first I don't know if it was the 1st or 2nd week of December, which is not typical, but I was, like, dead certain that we were gonna have pretty much safe ice from that time through, our normal ice off around the end of February, early March. But then the weather turned, and now most of the places around me are starting to open up again. But the
Mhm.
places where it didn't really get as warm, have way more ice than normal. I think like the Clear Lake, Iowa Great Lakes area, like those places have like, I don't know, 10 to 14 inches of ice in most places. For this time of year, that's a lot. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, but like it's just it's so strange because I figured we would have had more ice than we normally do, but then the weather turned and it's kind of just a normal winter now. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have safe ice again, kind of looking at the forecast at some point. So if things didn't open up, then you know probably get out and ice fish again. But yeah, I don't know. Willow and I got to do some
Yeah.
ice fishing, so that was fun. So of course, like when she's having a blast doing it, that's when it warmed up and it was, not very safe. We were lucky to get out a couple of times, but
Mm.
yeah, some of those guys out there in my area, like even I don't know if it was last weekend or the weekend before, it's just like, ugh, no thanks.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some ice and, like, there were some guys out on the one bay in Lake Erie, and I mean, you could see open water in the distance. I mean, at the end of the day, they're in maybe 4 feet of water, but,
Right.
there's some brave souls that will go, but I know up north and stuff, Lake Nipissing and all that is frozen over. Lake Simcoe froze, and it thawed out at one point, and then I'm pretty sure it's locked up by now, but there'll be
Right.
some ice fishing, but, like, I think it's been 2 years since I've been ice fishing because normally it's just if I got time, I gotta work on baits, but I'm hoping to
Sure.
do some ice fishing in February. I
There
owe
you
the
go.
guys who work for me an ice fishing trip for Christmas, so I think we're gonna head up there in
Oh, cool.
mid-February and do some ice fishing and explore a bit since,
Yeah, that'll be fun. What do you guys target over there at that point in time?
we'll
What's
be,
the move?
it'll be perch and walleye, and then we'll do some burbot, try to find some burbot stuff.
Nice. Yeah, that's
Um
cool.
That maybe do some pike, and then there's a bunch of smaller lakes around that if the guys wanna do some lake trout fishing or something, we can, hopefully get onto some lake trout and just have some fun. We're gonna do, like, one of the overnight huts
Sure.
and then bring the quads and the flip overs and just go explore, and then that's our home base for the weekend type thing,
Yeah, that'll
and do
be
that.
that'll be a lot of fun. I've always really wanted to book like an ice castle at some point just because
Mhm.
I think it would be really sweet to just be up there. You can just chill out in a warm spot and watch football or whatever and fish.
Oh,
And then like if
absolutely.
you want to go explore, you can. Yeah, that sounds like a good time. Because
Well,
we've done
that and
the
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna hook my graph up to the quad, and,
oh
like, I
yeah,
have so much auto charted on Nipissing that I have a really good idea where the walleye and stuff are gonna be. Burbot is a new species for me, so I'm gonna do some research on that, but I know there's some big ones in there.
well, and I think that is mostly like a spawning thing. Like you can
Mhm.
catch them outside of the spawn, but I feel like it's just not quite as easy as when they're spawning. That's why it's like
Yeah,
such a big deal in that February to March
yeah.
transition. A lot of those guys too, like Ben Stone, for example, getting on some of the late, pre-spawn pike, late ice pre-spawn pike.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff looks fun. I don't care who you are. You're catching a whatever 35 to 45 inch toothy critter, even if it's a northern pike. That's still awesome.
I would love to do that on Nipissing because there are some very, very big pike on Lake Nipissing. If you could get out there late ice, that could be a fun one. There's
It's
actually a
some
bunch of lakes up there that they hold some big ones.
it's something I need to, like, be more keyed in on here, where I live, like, the rivers have pike and stuff, and you know, like, late February, I can't imagine that, they're probably that hard to pin down. It's just probably gonna be
Mm.
how far up they get in some of those cuts here in town, but, like, that they gotta be there, just because they gotta go up there to spawn, so
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I want there's a couple areas I want to get out actually right when ice is going out by us,
Mhm.
but it's a 20-mile run, and you
Oh,
obviously got to pick and
jeez.
choose your days to get out there because it's straight south from where the North Shore is,
Right.
so it's all wind dependent. And it always seems like the spring, the wind, but there's an area out there where we catch big pike throughout the summer, so I can only imagine because there's a giant spawning bay close to
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
that there's probably some freaks that probably never seen lures because it's close to the deepest part of the lake, and
probably.
there's a good chance they probably never see lures. And if we can get in there, I think there'd be some megas because we've caught a couple 40 inchers out there like midsummer.
Mhm.
So I can only imagine that there's probably some some that are much bigger that are in there spawning at some point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple, like, little river tributaries around me, but it's more just having the free time to get out there, and then,
Mm.
honestly, at that time, usually, if those little things are open on the river, um, the lakes south of me are usually open, so then it's like, well,
Mm.
what's the point in bank yanking for pike that are maybe 30 inches when I could just go try and catch a muskie?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the that's kind of where I'm at with
I'm
it.
I mean, if I had that if I we didn't have a
Yeah,
season, that'd probably be my thing too. It's like, "Oh, we're gonna go pike fishing." Be like, "Nah, we're not." But I did
yeah,
make myself this year that I brought my musky gear, but I also brought the spinning rods because I've
sure.
said it for years. We should bring spinning rods, especially when we're trolling. It's like the amount of schools of giant perch we go over, and like you can
Mhm.
see the walleye and stuff on the bottom. Oh, we
Right.
should have brought the spinning rods, but they're never in the boats. Now I have my own boat. They're in the boat.
There you go. You're gonna catch less muskies though if you keep getting distracted by all the food,
I
that's
know.
down there that you wanna catch.
But you know what? I'm putting the 2 guys, a couple guys that work for me, they're starting to get into fishing. They've never been big into fishing, and so it's fun to introduce them to this walleye
Sure.
thing. And I don't know, I took them out probably 5 or 6 times, and, like, each time these guys are like, "This is insane, man." Like, I was like, "Also, Lake Erie right now is at the best it's ever been when it comes to walleye fishing." So, you don't even have to go out far. Anywhere from 25 feet of water to 180 feet of water,
Right.
there's walleye pretty much everywhere. So it's one of those things that I probably will do more walleye fishing next year, but it's like I want to catch one that's over 30 inches and talk to guys. There's certain areas that there could be. So I'm probably going to start breaking down a few things like that. But at the
Um,
end of the day, we'll be catching muskies. We'll be targeting muskies mostly.
sure. Do you guys have, like, salmon and stuff on your part of the Great Lakes, or are
Mhm.
they just not as prevalent there?
They're just not as prevalent. There's more, I would say, coho than anything.
Mhm.
There had like every once in a while you hear of like a king salmon caught, but it's very rare. A lot of trout, brown trout, rainbow trout. Um, There used to be a good pink salmon run by us. This is years ago, but I
Hmm,
think those are pretty much gone. Um, but yes, there is a salmon run. It's mostly coho. But I
okay.
mean, if I want to go salmon fishing, I'm only an hour and 40 minutes less, probably actually less than that to go to Lake Ontario, and then you can have at whatever salmonoid species you want.
Sure. Is it just, like, a stocking thing there, or do they just, like, prefer Ontario over Erie?
Well, I just don't think Canada really stocks many fish, to tell you the
Okay.
truth. Compared to
I
the states, like you
Well,
guys,
yeah,
like
that's true. I would agree with that, but you guys
I,
also have, like, so much more water that, like, I could not even imagine trying to come up with some kind of, stocking plan for that just because
mhm,
of I look at, like, Northern Wisconsin and just think about how many lakes they have up there compared to what we have here, and then, like, Canada, just generally driving up there when I've been there, there's, like, even more lakes, so it's just, it's just bad math, I feel like, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, we got if you go from, like, basically Thunder Bay, which if you're working your way all the way to Lake of the
mhm.
Woods,
Yeah,
it's throw a stone, you're gonna hit a lake. It's absolutely
right.
insane how many lakes are up, especially in the northern part of Ontario.
Yeah,
Um,
I would very much agree with that.
I know when I drove up there with my uncle before, we're like, "We should just bring kayaks sometime," and then just you see a lake that looks real cool, we could just park on the side of the road and
Mhm.
drop in,
I
and
mean, there's just so much untouched water there, and I mean, obviously, there's places that get hit and are destinations or whatever, but there's just no
yeah,
way that it all, even on the places that are more popularized, like your big ones, like Eagle, Lake of the Woods, I don't even know,
lax tool,
Wabagoon,
yeah,
Crow, like those places. It's just like even on those places, the pressure compared to northern Wisconsin, which I don't think is that much. I know that there's a lot of guides that would disagree with me, but they don't live down here in Iowa. So, but like, you have like less pressure up there and like even less pressure up in Canada. And it's just like, just the amount of things that those fish are seeing is so much less compared to even down here. And again, it's just math.
yeah,
There's just less water here, so that means like the fishermen that are here are going to fish it, and those fish see more stuff. And then, it's just like northern Wisconsin. There's generally less people. Like there aren't less people that fish up there, but there's more water to spread that pressure out. I guess you could say, and then even more so
yeah.
in Canada. Um,
Yeah, like, I mean, pressure for us, like, the only time I seen a lot, like, even a lot is not the only time there was more pressure that I've seen was when everything opened up through COVID, when everyone was,
mhm,
like, camping and, like, we'd go to these small lakes where you might see
sure.
1 boat in 7 days, and then you'd see, like, 3 or 4 or 5 in a day, and people kayaking, canoeing, whatever, but
Hmm.
are they musky fishing? No, a lot of people weren't. But
Right.
just the boat traffic and stuff, and, like, it's like we have to wait at the launch. There's like, this has never happened before. Like,
Right.
there's been times where we, like, fish and don't have a campsite, and we just sleep in our trucks, and we just sleep with the boat pretty much just out of the water, and we're in covering the launch because we know there's no one gonna be coming, and just wake
Yeah.
up and back in.
I would say down here during COVID was when pressure was the craziest because like
Mm,
not only was Canada closed, so like the pressure in northern Wisconsin was like more than normal, which I think at this point, from my perspective, has normalized. But like down here, when everything was closed and people were just like they didn't have anything to do, like I saw more boats on our waters at that time than I really ever have outside of like your standard Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, super popular times to be on the water kind of thing. So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, there's some I guess you got your big moon phases on, like, some certain
mhm,
bodies of water. You're always gonna have, right, guys plan trips around the moon phases and types a year, whatever. But
yeah,
again, a lot of these lakes that we fish are so big that you might run into a couple boats. It's not like you're fighting over a spot. So,
no,
there's so many areas.
and that's the thing too. Like up in northern Wisconsin, yeah, is there more pressure on the weekends when like the people from the Twin Cities come over or the like vacationers are there? Absolutely. Am I gonna fight over a spot with someone there, like on a lake that I know like the back of my hand? Absolutely not. It's like if someone wants to cut me off, yeah, that's annoying. Am I gonna yell at them? No, I'm just gonna go somewhere else because it's not worth, getting bent in a
Yeah.
twist about, you know, someone who thinks that they need to be on that spot. There's freaking 20 others that you can hit in 5 other lakes. Like
Yeah.
it's
I mean, like, fishing Green Bay for the first time, and I hear all the stories, like, how it's a zoo, and, like,
mhm,
it's such a big area,
right.
even with that many boats. I mean, and you know what? I feel like everyone that fishes there, it seems like they're all on the same page. Like,
Yeah, I mean you're
there's
gonna
no
know what's
real
going on.
issues. Yeah, like all of a sudden you hear a splash and you like look over and it's like, oh, that and people just whatever. You just wave
Yeah,
and they're like then fishing with Jamie, he's like, oh, this guy in front of us, this is a buddy of mine, tried to hit his boat.
sure.
So we're like casting, landing at a foot from finally he looks back and it's all in good fun. But
Well,
so
and
even
that's
that was interesting. That's I've never been in something like that. Let's just put it that way. Unless you're in a tournament in a tiny lake. Is that
Right.
how
I
it
mean,
seemed to me?
yeah, I mean that's kind of one of those deals where you know what you sign up for, kind of thing out there.
Yeah.
Like if someone is like right behind me in northern Wisconsin, I'm gonna be a little perturbed because like you have all this other water to fish. But like down here in Iowa, if there's like a bass guy or someone creeping up on me behind me, or someone wants to jump in front of me, it's like it's whatever. I mean, some
Yeah.
weekends are just busier than others, and if it's that big of a deal, I'll just go to a different spot. Like, yeah, I mean, if you know the water well, then you have plenty of options, and there's no sense in getting bent out of shape about it. I don't know.
Like the craziest thing by us is like when our bass season opens
Hmm.
and like the bay that is around us, a lot of smallmouth, I mean a lot of smallmouth spawn in there. So depending on the water
Sure.
temperature and how the season is, I'm like hundreds of boats. And I mean
Yeah.
hundreds of boats. Like I
Yeah.
just tend not to go out on that weekend just because it is an absolute gong show. And it's all in an area. It's just like there's a boat, everyone just starts parking, and all of a sudden it just builds and builds. They're
Right.
going through the channel, and it's like you got to weave in and out of boats to get through to go to different parts of the lake, and then get to the main part of like the outer bay of Lake Erie, and that stuff gets a little crazy. It's insane. Like if you're not at the boat launch by like 4 o'clock, you could be waiting a very long time to get out. There's just so many boats. It's insane. And the other thing that's comparable to that is these guys that do spring salmon fishing in Lake Ontario on
Oh,
our side.
yeah.
There's been times we've waited over an hour at a boat launch, and these are boat launches that have like 6 lanes. So it's you're just waiting there, your boat's ready, but it's also people that just you could tell people who aren't big fishermen, right? Like we have an hour to wait, so we unbuckle the boat, we got the riggers out, we got the trolling gear out,
Totally.
got baits on the line. There's like everything's ready. As soon as we get in, you just drop in and drive away. And then you're
Hmm.
waiting for someone, like, they just waited for an hour and they didn't unbuckle their boat, they didn't get their riggers, whatever, ready, and it's
Yep.
like and there's only one person in the truck that knows how to drive the boat, and he also
Right.
has to drive the truck for some reason, so it's but besides that,
There's a lot of that
I
happens down here.
yeah, it is funny, man, and yes, I have heard that the Fox River on Opener in Green Bay is the real time where it can be a gong show, but
Yeah. I think that's just like Bob said, people are pretty courteous, and I think that those guys know more than probably any other what they're signing up for when they go there at
yeah,
that time. I mean, everyone's trying to pull the ticket for the fish of a lifetime, and that's a good time to do it. So fish haven't seen baits in whatever 4 months, six
yeah,
months, whatever it is. So
and got then you go out there, you just see all the big names, right? All the big
right.
name guides and stuff. It's like, "Oh, there's so and so, there's so and so." It's like, "Huh."
Yeah, I mean
Everyone's just doing all the same thing. It's
that was an interesting thing when we fished Mille Lacs. When was that? The last time I was there 2 years ago, because that was the year that Green Bay had super high water. So like a lot of those post spawn fish got blown out. So some of those people that guide there went to Mille Lacs or whatever, because like saw all kinds of guides like Doug Wagner, for example, who
mm,
normally would be spending all that time on Green Bay, was over there. And he's just fishing a lot of the same spots that we are, doing mostly the same thing that we were
yeah,
doing. So it's just like you have a lot of these people concentrated in the same area. They're just giant weed flats where these fish are utilizing that structure and the bait after they spawn. And it's not that complicated. They have to come shallow if they're going to spawn. So
yeah.
yeah, or shallow to a degree. I'm sure that some spawn deeper than others, but yeah, yeah, I'm sure everyone gets my
When I
point.
got to take away, we did some trolling with blades and stuff and to see how they
Sure.
troll was, learned a few things on the trolling aspect, which is always good. Like I said, I like fishing with people who are way better than me and just
Yeah.
absorb everything and take it back, and I'm gonna try it, and so it was a cool learning curve with,
Yeah.
fishing with all those guys.
Yeah. Iron very much sharpens iron in this sport. And if you're not trying to fish with people who are better fishermen than you, then you are getting left behind. That's just from however long I've been doing this, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is at this point. That's probably like the number one thing that I've learned is fish with people who are better at it than you. So then you can learn and be better yourself. 'Cause
Yeah, 100%.
at the end of the day, we just want to catch more fish because they're fun and they're cool and they fight hard. So um,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, and some little, little advice here or there, you take it back, and that's another reason why I like fishing. And, I'm lucky enough that I'm able to go to Missouri and get up to Wisconsin and go to Lake of the Woods every once in a while and fish in New
sure.
York, and it's just it's cool to see how when you go to different regions, people gravitate to certain things, and then you go to people who fish the Great Lakes, they're a completely different ball game than,
Hmm.
guy and I know everything's different, but it's, uh it's cool to see different techniques, different color patterns, what works that everyone says works up in
Right.
Wisconsin, the people in New York might not agree with,
Hmm.
but it's, and then there's me, then I'm like, "Well, maybe I'm gonna take, I'm gonna throw a pounder in Northern Wisconsin, I bet you a fish will eat it." And it's just, where we fish, we throw a lot of big baits, like, there's no
Sure.
doubt, and even midsummer, like, we'll be throwing pounders or monster medusas, husky medusas, 11-inch tubes,
Right.
and have all the confidence in the world that I know that once the fish turn on, they're gonna eat these, especially some of the places we fish, like, this is a snack to them, and
Sure.
you go to Wisconsin and it's like, you know, bring 5 and 6-inch baits. Don't bring you don't wanna bring the XL, and I was like, especially Rich, I'm like, "Rich, I'm bringing an XL, and I'm gonna be throwing it with you." He's like,
I've
"Well,
caught
maybe you'll get it bit." And then
I
you're a prime example for
I've caught as many 30 inchers on the XL as I've caught fish over 40 inches on the XL, I'm pretty sure. So it they when it's happening and it's working, they're gonna eat it.
yeah, I feel
And
like those little ones it's just a reaction, right? They
totally.
just they go psycho. Just crush a
Yeah.
big bait.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Because they
like,
don't
I've
they
actually personally, I've caught more smaller fish on a pounder than big fish. And
yeah.
some, I mean, where we're fishing, the water's so clear, like, they'll eat at your feet, and I'm, like, trying to pull the bait out of the way, and that's actually the hook set, and it's like, "Oh my god," and you just, like, sit there, and it's like, and I'm talking, like, less than 30 inches, like, this is a small fish. And
Right.
you're like I'm like, "No," and gets a hook, and you just slack line it, and it's like, "Come
Mhm.
on," and no matter what you do, you can't get the fish off. But then you actually get a good hook set on a fish, and you keep tight line, and those big ones they know how to get off.
Yeah, I've, caught a couple, like, 24 inchers on ridgeways, and I'm trying to think of some of the other random stuff, like some of Brady's lures, and it's like, what are you guys doing? Knock it off."
Oh,
Like,
it's insane.
I caught it, like, probably a 24-inch tiger one time on a mid Medusa, and it's like, "Oh my goodness." Like and of course, they're the ones hitting it out on the cast, so you can't just, like, pull it away from them as they're screaming
Yeah.
in to hit it or whatever. It's like,
Well,
"Don't."
my smallest pike to date hit a monster Medusa.
That just
I
doesn't
it
even make
wasn't
sense.
it was maybe 20 inches long,
Oh my
like,
goodness.
maybe 20 inches long. And, of course, when it comes in, it's got the hooks all over its
Everything.
face,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
everything pegged, and it's like, "I'm not cutting my hooks for you. I'm so
No.
sorry." But we got our
No,
way, and, of course, I feel like you could rip the gills out of those fish, and they'd still swim away and be perfectly fine.
probably. Yeah. Those are the ones that you use for bait up in northern Wisconsin. That's
Yeah.
yeah, the
Well, we're
nice
not
little
allowed to do that.
variable. I know, it would be cheating where you're at. It's kinda cheating where we are too, but, there's plenty it's about 50-50. About every time I drop one down and it gets crunched, there's probably one time that I drag it around and it then becomes eagle food, so it just is what it is.
Did you have any, heartbreakers this year?
Oh, man, I don't know. In terms of, like, lost fish,
Yeah.
not like the last couple of years. I had a lot of consistent action. Connor and I had a couple really, really good days, this summer. I think we caught 33 fish in 2 weekends, which was pretty dope.
Sweet.
Um But, like, nothing crazy, just a lot of fish. I think the biggest one that we caught that weekend was, like, 44, or out of the 2 weekends was 44. Just a lot of really nice fish between, 34 and whatever, 44 inches.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. I can't like probably that one on KV's bad egg was probably like the most heartbreak. Like honestly, that was probably the thing that was probably heartbreaking this year is because I had probably 3 fish that I lost on the bucktail with my first set of blades that I painted that KV put on a bucktail for me. And I think I lost like 3 or 4 fish on that bucktail and didn't catch one.
Mm,
So
fuck.
that would probably qualify for the heartbreak of the year for me on that
On a
front.
on a bucktail too, eh?
I know it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, one of those was with Connor. And yeah, just dumb. Whatever, muskies are dumb.
Yeah. I we the guy I fished with had the biggest heartbreak, and I was so gutted for him because we're fishing very, very big fish water, and his PB, I think, is just under 56,
Okay.
and he hooked this fish. I just casted. My buddy in the front of the boat just casted. He's like, "Fish," so we both, like, look, and then we look out, and we just see this fish come to the surface and just do this big barrel roll. He's throwing a pounder. You see the pounder in his face, and we just, like he's in the middle of the boat, so I, like, lean back and, like, look forward. My buddy at the front of the boat looks back, and he's like, "That's fucking big." I'm like so I just casted out a spinnerbait. I'm burning in. I get the net, come back over, and then we see it, like, 15 feet from the boat comes to the surface, and now we're both just and now in my head is like, whatever you do, do not fuck this up. You
Right.
cannot fuck. And then we see it's only got one hook in it, and it's like, oh my god, my heart's racing. I'm not even fighting this fish. And he gets to the surface one more time, and it's just this huge head shake, and you see the pounder come out, and it just kind of like thrashes at the top of the water, and then just does this slow swim away. The guy in the middle, the guy who just lost it, is rightfully so having some words.
Mhm.
And then I lean back over and I look at my buddy at the front of the boat, and he's just like, "That is like big, 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 big." So we don't say anything about it for 10 minutes, and then we all start talking about it, right? You give him
Right.
his grieving period. We all start talking about it. And again, he's got one. It was close to 56 inches. And he just like looks, he's like, that was bigger than my PB, right? We're like,
Oh, jeez.
and it was one of those that we came to the conclusion, like it was anywhere from 56 to 58 inches. This is
Yikes.
midsummer, absolute, like it was a heartbreaker.
Unreal.
And the funny thing is, the guy I'm fishing with, he knows all these spots, all the historical giant fish that have been caught on these spots. And like
Mhm.
talked, he's like, oh, there was a 58 caught here 3 years ago. There was a 57 last year, 54s and this. And so then you see this fish come to the surface, and it's like, "Oh my god." And it's just like a massive area with like a hump that flattens out at like 15 feet,
Mhm.
and it's right off the backside of the hump. This fish smoked it, and yeah, again, I didn't even hook the fish, but I think about that fish on a daily. I shouldn't say daily, but when I think about musky fishing, it's just like, my god, like and he
Yeah.
just broke his PB last year, so he has a mount getting made. And then we talked about it, he's like, "If I would've got that fish in and that was what we think it was," he's like, "I have to get another one, right?" He's like, "You would have to get another one for sure because that was just the proper fish." And
Yeah.
then we that same day, and this is like an area that's you go 7 days, you might get a shot at 1 or 2 fish, and we all had a shot at a fish in the same day. I had a fish right out of the cast, hooked it, fought it, had it at the boat a couple times, had to move to the front of the boat. We've seen it multiple times. It was a high 40s,
Mhm.
maybe a 50-inch fish. It ended up getting off just as the net's going in. And I was like, whatever. Like we got to see the fish. I got to fight the fish. We know there's much bigger here. And then there was another big fish that was lost not long after that. And that was also a head scratcher. And that one I actually moved. I was running my live scope. I just keep it on a 45. I'm in the back of the boat. And I'm just casting. I'm casting the shallow stuff. They're casting deep rubber stuff. And I had this fish come in and had it in the figure eight. It's dark at this point, so I couldn't see the size of it, but I'm seeing it on live scope, and I just see its tail and the big swoosh at the surface. So we went back, and the middle guy hooked it 10 minutes later and fought it for a bit. We got a glimpse of it, and it came off. And we're just like, my God, we could have had an epic day today if we could just keep these fish pinned.
Yeah,
It
no
was like,
kidding.
man, we could have had like
Yeah.
180 inches or so of muskie potentially in three fish. It was yeah, it was a heartbreaker. But
We that story reminds me of the last time that I was on Mille Lacs, and like we fished really hard for whatever it was, 3 days, 4 days, and just weren't having really much luck at all or any success. And we just came across this window where like so we were going into this bay, and like my buddy, so it was just a weird deal. Connor was having boat trouble, so him and his buddy Derek were working on that. So we fished with this guy named Chris for a little bit. That was buddies with Derek. And so Barry and I were with him, and we come into this bay, and we see like I didn't see the fish, but Barry and Chris saw this fish, and it's an absolute just tank as we're going into the bay. So we're just kind of like, huh, that's weird. And it's obviously just cruising. It's not interested in eating or doing anything like that. And then we're fishing around, and Chris hooks up on, I think it's just an all white mag regular swimming dog, and he's fighting this fish, and I see this thing's tail, and it's kicking and it's fighting, and it looks like my freaking two hands put together. Like it's just easily the biggest fish I've ever
mm,
seen at that point, like in terms of just mass. And I mean, we're talking a probably 52-inch plus fish. I like again, it's just I haven't seen enough fish that big to really even put an estimate on it. But he's fighting it, and unfortunately, it just pops off. He didn't do anything wrong fighting the fish, like, and we get the bait back and we look at it, and one of the hook points is like folded in, and then like another one is like bent out kind of. So it's
mm,
just like, I don't know, change out your stock hooks on anything Musky Innovations is all I've got to say about that. I'll throw Musky Innovations under the bus there. Those baits are great, but those like entry level mustads are too soft for some of those big fish mouths. And like in terms of like just getting penetration, you got to be thinking a step ahead, I guess. Yeah, if I was Chris, I would still be sad about that.
mm,
But so then we kept fishing in that bay, and I'm like fishing, and my rod loads up. I'm fishing a Bam Bam Junior. That was like the year that Brady first introduced the juniors,
mm,
and my rod loads up weird, and I'm like, what the heck? So I like set the hook, and then I see this like probably 48 incher just kind of peeling weird, and I like bring my lure in, and like one of my hooks is bent, basically straight, and I've
mm.
got like scales on another hook. So like I don't even know what happened, but that big fish just somehow managed to swerve me. And then it's just like that's sad. So like there in 10 minutes after fishing for like 3 days and not seeing anything, we had potentially whatever 100 inches of fish that we could have had, and just ended up goose egging. Like it just sucked.
Yeah. It's kind of funny you say that. We this year we're again in a big fish water, and we went to an area. And our buddy, we're trying to get him to fish shallow the whole time because we moved a
Hmm.
bunch of these bigger fish shallow, and
Sure.
he's fished this area a lot more than us. He's like, the bigger fish are always out deeper, blah blah blah. So we move in shallow, and he casts. And he's like, I'm snagged, and he does one, two, three. He's like, he's like, man, and he starts reeling, and all of a sudden he's like, oh my god, it ended up being a fish. he just so he set the hook on the snag, it doesn't move. He's like, what the heck? So he pops it three times, and all of a sudden just whew, well, he got this fish like right towards the back, basically the shoulders. So now his fish is coming in sideways. And he's like, this thing's giant. Like, you gotta, we're on the trolling motor, like we're chasing it down. It ended up being like a nice, like, I think it was a 47 incher or 48 incher. But we were dying, man. Like we were dying. It was just one of those weekends, he was upset because he wasn't seeing many fish. And then we're seeing a bunch of fish. He's like, I've never heard of many guys catching them on top water. And we had two massive,
Hmm.
sweet. I wish I would have had a GoPro to see these blow ups because one was like a dolphin,
Oh
like
yeah.
hits the bait. The bait went 6 feet in the air, and you just see this full fish. I mean, 3.5 feet out of the water, the full length and girth of this fish. That was probably 50, 52 inches. and just land. And we're in 3 feet of water, and this is
Oh my gosh.
middle of summer, and like so we had that. We had another fish that actually hit the bait forward so much that like the buddy that was reeling it in, it had like soaked his legs. Like it was that close to the boat. And then
Mhm.
like he set the hook, the bait came flying out, and the fish just kind of sat there like, where is it? And we got to see that. That was also a potential like high 40s, 50-inch class fish. So he
Yikes.
was he was on one those couple days, and then he finally hooks into one. It was something like that. So we had a laugh for a while. And still didn't believe us they were shallow, but it was we ended up getting a bunch of fish. No, we seen a couple real big ones, but I think I ended up getting a 4 footer. We caught some 47s, a 4 footer, a 46, a couple of 39s. Like all in all, a good trip.
Yeah.
But
You're
it
over
was
there. You're over there in like BFT, like Duke and all those guys, where he poo poos like these mid 40s fish or lower 40s fish that I send him. He's like, those are babies over here. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that they are. 'Cause you got the freaking Larry and Nip and like
mm,
all these other crazy places, the Great Lakes, and it's like you got to understand, our fish just aren't built that way out over here.
you know what? Hey, I get it. When I was talking to some of my buddies, they're like, "Why are you going to Wisconsin?" I was like, "Because I've never fished Wisconsin. I love fishing new stuff, and it just seems like fun." Like, yeah, like you're gonna go catch 36 inchers and like you have a chance of catching 56 inchers here. It's like, yeah, but like it's all in perspective. I get
Yeah,
it. I
a
go to
lot
New
of
York
history.
because exactly. Like I go to New York early to go tiger fishing because I'm able to go musky fishing. Or
Hmm.
now I know a bunch of people from PA. Like I'm hoping to get down to PA in February, depending on the winter, maybe March,
Right.
how the winter plays out. But it's like I'm I understand perspective. And like
Yeah.
talking with Rich when I was in the boat with Rich, he's just like, I can't believe some of the numbers that you're talking about and like sizes and this and that. And it's like, yeah, but like I understand that where we are, like we have the Great Lakes. We have
Hmm.
like let's be honest, it's either the next world record is going to be the St. Lawrence, the Georgian Bay, or probably somewhere in Minnesota. And
Right.
we're just I'm just lucky where I live, but I also got to travel a lot. I wish I could have all these little musky lakes where I could be like, kids are down in the middle of summer. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
musky fishing for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then come home and go to work the next day. I don't
Yeah.
really have that where I am. I got to drive
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 20 hours if I want to go to Lake of the Woods. So it's a lot of travel. It's just different, and I'm kind of jealous. I wish I had multiple lakes that I could go to a stone throws away.
That's very true, and that is like super important perspective, and just like the perspective of like the quote unquote, as like Dadson calls it, Queenie looks different wherever
Mm,
you're at. Like, you know, here in Iowa, Queenie's probably 48 or 49 inches. Like if you catch one in that range here, they don't get much bigger than that. It's just how it is. Same with like northern Wisconsin or whatever. You'll find some inlands that are over 50, but if you catch one that's over 50 inland up there, like your program is dialed. Like
yeah,
that's a really special fish. So I think perspective is important in just understanding the water you fish and the potential
I
there.
agree. Like
Or
going to
even
Missouri.
just yeah,
Like when I go to Missouri, that my first fish I ever caught there was a 48 incher and a well built 48 incher. And it's like that fish means a lot more to me than a 48 incher in
sure.
Ontario.
Yeah, well, I'm
And
pretty
like,
sure that sorry, go ahead, dude.
well, I was just gonna say, like when we got that fish in the net, I was like, oh, that's a sweet fish. And he just like looked at me, he's like, that's a giant here. I'm like, what's the
Mhm.
biggest fish you ever had in your boat? He's like, that one right there. He's like,
Yeah,
there's not many of these here. And there's a well built 48 incher, and it's like, sweet. It was a beautiful fish. And still my biggest from Missouri. It might take a while to beat that, but we're gonna keep trying.
yeah. Well, I think I'm pretty sure Iowa fish and Missouri fish are the same. They're that like Midwest mutt strain of fish. So it's like and I'm pretty sure that Missouri gets their fish from our DNR. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that for
Okay.
a fact, but I'm pretty like I'm like 85% sure that Missouri fish are Iowa fish. So like kudos on that one because that's a freaking mondo. And I remember that picture. That was a serious fish. I mean, you're talking a
Yeah.
30 to 35 pound fish. not that far off the spawn. Like that's that's a
Yeah,
serious animal.
that fish potentially, like, weeks earlier would have been,
Oh yeah,
another 8 pounds heavier. It would have been a blimp. And that's
yeah.
one thing I have noticed about when we fish in Missouri, like, even a 34 incher, they're just absolute butterballs. Like, they're
Yep.
built, and even him is like, "Man," he's like, "These fish just eat so many shad." He's like, "They're eating all the time." He's like, "Their water gets up to, like, 90 something degrees."
Hmm.
So he's like, not that he fishes in it, he's like, but these fish just like eat in like hot water, cold water. He's like, these fish are just constantly eating. They're just, and I've never seen a skinny one. Let's put it that way that we've caught.
Yeah, it's about the only time like our fish will get that kind of skinny physique is if something is like if there's some sort of imbalance within the ecosystem itself.
Mm.
If they have the forage available to be thick, then they're going to be thick. So yeah, that's really the only time I've seen it because most of the time when you're catching those Iowa fish or the Missouri fish, whatever you want to call them, they're freaking built
They're
and
butterballs.
yeah, they're fun.
But
Ugh.
yeah, it seems like, even like, I mean, every year I've gone there, we've caught giant largemouth trolling too. And
Oh, I'm
like,
sure.
so it's like
Yeah.
clearly their fish just they eat a ton. And like when I'm trolling with Nick, like we're doing anywhere from 4 miles an hour to almost 6 miles an hour.
Hmm.
And it just blows my mind that a largemouth, and a lot of time is like you do some flats and then you go to open water. And
Hmm.
we've caught them in open water. It's just like it's over like 70, 60 feet of water.
Sure.
And there's just bait balls of shad. And they're eating full size Kirby's or a couple baits that I brought, anywhere from 8 to 10 inches long, and you're catching largemouth on them trolling that fast is a mine. It's crazy.
Well, and that's like I tell my clients, like when I have people in the spring with me, I'm like, we're going to be casting to areas where your chances of catching a 4+ pound largemouth are just as good as catching a muskie in some of these places because really they're keying in on the same forage at that time of the year.
Mm.
It's just the largemouth are moving into spawn, whereas like the muskies are moving out. But like a lot of times, like if people aren't super familiar with musky fishing, like that is just like a bonus to them. Like they're excited about the prospect of like you're telling me we can catch these like toothy critters that are huge and big bass in the same spots. I'm like, heck yeah, man. I mean, they're gonna be occupying and eating the same thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, double
Nitro and
13s.
13s. Oh, it's
Catch big
funny you
largemouth.
say that. What this actually last season my buddy caught, I think it was 6.5 or 6.6 pound smallmouth on double
Jeez,
12s casting at night, 3 o'clock in the morning. He was
my
casting.
goodness.
It was a giant smallmouth. It was like 22.5 inches long. It was just we thought he had something good. And it looked like a carp the way it was built. It was a big smallie, but that thing smoked double 12s. It was on a Datsun, actually.
Nice. Well, yeah, dude, that's sweet. Um, Well, Adam, I'm probably gonna go grab some supper here soon.
Jeez.
we've been really hammering at the musky talk, and I greatly appreciate your time. I know that you are super busy getting prepped for show season and all the things. So, courtesy of our mutual friend Taylor, I've got some like venison Philly cheesesteak stuff in the crock pot that I'm really excited to
Oh,
get after.
yeah, no doubt. Sounds good, man. I don't even know what's for supper. My wife and kids, I can hear them running around upstairs. So,
Well, I'll let you get to that. Thank you so much for the time and all the things. Before we go, though, let people know where they can find your baits and what shows you're going to be at.
okay. So shows are going to be New York, which is the end of January, at Chautauqua Hotel. And we got the Wisconsin show, which is, what is that?
At
Mid
20th,
March, the
20th through
20th.
22nd, I think.
The 20th, and that's what, in Wausau. And then the Muskie Odyssey is in Peterborough, Ontario this year. They're actually joined up with CanCast, which is one of Canada's biggest fishing shows.
Oh,
So there's going
cool.
to be two hockey arenas. One's basically the bass and all the other, like the main CanCast stuff that normally happens, and then the other one's just all musky
Hmm.
stuff. So it's all 1 day event at the Odyssey. That one is actually the weekend after, so that's gonna be a very busy time moving after the New York show to make sure
Totally.
I have baits ready. Mind you, a lot of the stuff in Canada, again, is all bigger stuff, so I will be keeping some of the bigger stuff with me so I have some baits for that show. But I plan on
Hmm.
bringing as many as I can to all the shows, and we'll see how they do. But that, Dive and Glide will be released
Oh, I
in
cannot wait.
Wausau.
I cannot wait to get my hands on one of those. The northern
So
Wisconsin, it'll be interesting to see if the northern Wisconsin muskies prefer that or the Dipstick XL. It's going to be a contest this summer.
yeah,
I can't wait.
and I might actually I didn't say anything about this, but this is a little sneak peek. I think I showed you this. I made this just for spring pike fishing. This is the micro dipstick.
I want one. I
This
want one.
is where's so this is your mini.
Yeah.
This is your micro.
If you can get me a
Just
micro
one little hook.
before spring, I would love you for it because I think that those would
Well,
do damage down here
I
for
got
the
a couple
season.
baits. I think I showed you this one. This is just a one-off that I think would suit for your little
Oh yes,
again,
you bet.
a little hollow. It's just a little guy. So this thing's
Love
got
it.
some wild action that you can add to it. And I'll have a care package for you. Don't you worry.
I appreciate you, Adam. I know that you
And
will, and I appreciate it. And I will do everything I can to pump your baits because more people deserve to be exposed to your genius. So I
perfect. I
greatly
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the night, buddy. And you take care.
You as well, dude. We'll talk to you soon. Later, man.
Absolutely. All right. See you guys.